And I will say that Chapek, he can go and now edit every single Marvel or the Disney project that is to come, but he won't.
No.
And this brings us straight to the question from Jalen. What is Chapek's plan now? If I were to speculate, and this is just my speculation, but I think that he is going to be extremely selective about where he chooses to make any kind of difference.
Yeah.
I think that in the projects which are already super woke, it is in his best interest to let them come out exactly as they are and fail. He is going to want the projects that have wokeness in them. It is in his interest to let them come out exactly as woke as they are. I see them fail with the marketplace. Let Disney take that short-term loss that comes with it, because then he has a reason to hand out pink slips. Then he has a reason to not greenlight that kind of projects going forward. But all of the wokeness that's already in the can, you're probably going to be seeing most of it. I think the only exception is in certain Marvel productions. If there is something that's not, if it's like really ingrained into the production, then I think he's going to let it come out and it's going to fail on its own merits. If it's an otherwise strong productions with a few virtue signaling moments in it, then he might remove those particular woke moments. But just consider this: it is in his moment, is in his interest to let everything that is woke right now, let it come out, let it fail on its own merits, give reason for pink slips. It's going to be really 2 tough years ahead for Disney, and this is what we've been saying. Don't expect any momentary changes. Chapek is renewed for a 3-year contract. The next 2 years are going to be Iger projects. They're going to be woke as hell. They're going to be horrendous. It's not going to be until year 3. When he is up for renewal, that is when you're going to see the tides turn in terms of projects. And that's in his interest, so that you can very clearly see this was before this wokeness was rejected by the audience. And that's even going to give him some leeway in saying, look, now it's going to take some time for my projects to win people over again. But look at this word of the mouth. And then in his next period, when he's renewed for another 3 years, which is going to be part of his plan, that's when you're going to see the real turnaround. But do not expect any kind of substantial change the next 2 years. Disney's going to be woke for 2 more years, outwardly.
That's basically what I was going to say, so I don't really have too much more to add to this other than just to back it up with, basically what he's doing is why would he correct Iger's bad homework? Right? Like it makes no sense for him to go out there and make Daddy Iger look better, considering how bad Daddy Iger. Exactly. There's that aspect plus all the things you just said.
Point to Iger and blame him for everything. That's
exactly.
The next 2 years.
Exactly. Well, not only that, it's making his legacy look worse. Considering how Chapek was treated by Iger, it's just deserves, as far as I'm concerned. I know a lot of the general audience and some of the other people are not going to understand that, but guess what? We know this. You guys listening know this now because we do. And the investors and the shareholders know this.
They know
that's
exactly
what's important.
And here's like the thing. Harkening back to what Culture just said, the Disney share price is going to remain at historically low level, or in recent history, low levels for the next 2 years minimum. The wokeness that can be blamed on Iger is Chapek's get out of jail free card for it. The moment that he starts going in and making adjustments, like visible adjustments to projects, then he takes responsibility. Then he says, well, these are my projects now. I went in and I couldn't change enough and it still failed amidst all this other wokeness. Then he takes responsibility for it. Then he's not going to get renewed for another 3 years when his current contract is up. Here you have to think like a chess player. It is in his interest that Disney now take the short-term loss, both in the share price, in the earnings, in the lack of dividend payments, and in loss of Disney Plus subscribers. And he can blame it all on Iger and wokeness. And then in the third of his contract, when his project, that's when he can turn it down.
You're
That's
roboting.
probably done for.
You're roboting, Andre.
Sorry about that.
No, yeah, we missed half of what you said there. But Video Vice here brings up a point. Like, this is where I think we're going to start seeing the changes. Like that infamous A-Force movie that was announced, what, 3-4 years ago now? It ain't ever coming to fruition. We've seen some of his actions in other places. Star Wars, for instance. He's come in there and basically, we're not going to see a Star Wars movie for the next 3-4 years, guys. Taika Waititi's movie is probably dead. He's supposed to be co-writing this bitch, and he's like, oh, I haven't seen a script yet. It's like, half that's your fault, motherfucker. Like, so what's the other reason
that's
then?
That's Chapek's fault. I mean, at this point,
exactly.
The reason why Chapek is the one that's gone and killed every single Star Wars movie coming. That was a Chapek call.
And I think that was to stop the bleeding there. Yeah. I think Script and Doctor and I were on to the right point when we said that he's going to concentrate on Marvel first. Because Marvel and Disney animation are the two areas that need the most fixing. I know Star Wars is in a bad fucking place, but you can kind of just set it on the back burner for now and let it just simmer. Because Star Wars has simmered for 40 years without having constant entertainment streamed to people, right? And I don't mean streaming in the streaming sense, but I mean like we had the original film and then there was the dark period. Yeah, then we got the EU stuff and then we got the prequels and then there was the Clone Wars and then there was dark periods in between there, though, to where Star Wars is one of those franchises you can, dust it off after a bit and it'll be just fine. Marvel, on the other hand, is their main source of revenue on top of what used to be their main source of revenue, which was culture. Who's not here? Sorry. Animation.
No, parks. Well, no. Yeah. I mean,
I meant to the movie side of things.
Oh, animation. Yeah, no. Animation was where they made their bones. Absolutely. Yeah.
And what was the big thing we saw this year happen? Lightyear took a big, huge fucking fuck you.
It was terrible. And again, that comes back to the leadership, which we've discussed many times. I mean,
and that's a failure on the animation and Pixar side of things. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're indeed. Yeah. Sorry. I was like thinking, well, it's the cash cows, theme parks. But no, you're right. When it comes to cinema, it's animation. And it has been forever. I mean, since their inception.
Yeah. So. And Star Wars was never meant to be the thing to sustain Disney. Marvel was the happy accident that became the thing that kept them going through the shit movies, like the bad animation movies once they lost Lasseter. Because if you go back and look outside of Frozen, they have not had any hits, and that technically falls within Lasseter's range, I think. Frozen 2 was a huge disappointment. Wreck-It Ralph 2 was a huge disappointment. And they haven't had an animated hit since then. And Kanto was a hit despite itself, almost.
Right.
And you had a few shining moments here and there, but none that were of the level that any previous Pixar films have gotten to. We have not seen a hit like Frozen since Frozen.
Right.
So, that's where they're at right now. They need to fix Marvel and the animation department first and foremost. Sorry, go ahead, Cole.
No, real quickly, just to add to what you're saying, we are about to see the fruits of Skydance animation reveal themselves on an Apple Plus project called Luck. So you guys can see what effects Lasseter has had over there at Skydance by viewing that. The trailer is available now. You can watch that. So FYI.
And is this an animated or live action culture?
Animated.
Animated.
Is this Lasseter produced?
Yeah, I believe he's firmly tied to this one.
So this is his
but
first
to take it away from animation and back to the initial super chat, I just want to address this comment right here before we move on with the other super chats, which harken back to Thor: Love and Thunder. Rory Mitchell says, in regards to what we laid out is likely Chapek's strategy, that's a huge risk for Chapek and Disney. What if the market changes in 2 years? Or the lack of talent at Disney can't create anything good then? This can backfire big time. Well, here's the thing. For one thing, there's inherent risk in everything. But you know what would be the real risk? Is if he's trying to make two big changes right now with all of the wokesters at Disney, and he gets another riot at his hands, and they're somehow able to turn the tide against him, or he is left with the blame for the projects that fail. That is the risk for him. The market is not going to, it's not like the market is suddenly going to demand woke products in 2 years. The market is going to be the same. They're going to just want to be entertained, and that's something that Disney isn't really doing now. Maybe they will do so in 2 years. About the lack of talent, that maybe they can't create anything good in 2 years. Well, they can't create anything good right now. And if you were to do something, basically, it's like the projects that will be coming out in 2 years are the ones that are getting greenlit now. That's like the issue. And so the projects that he can't do anything with are the ones that are already in the can, or so far into development that they can't really be changed, and he wants them to fail for that reason. This is a strategy, and when you have a strategy that is sound, you just have to stick to it. If you deviate from that strategy without there being any fundamental changes in the fundamentals of the marketplace to warrant that change, you're probably going to fail, because then you'll be flip-flopping. So actually, no, it's going to be more risky of him if he were to try to fix everything right now. If he cut,
he's just going to get more insurgents. And and as much as it would be nice for him to be able to go, fine, there's the door, so you don't let it hit your ass on the way out.
Do that. That's not how reality works.
Yeah, they're not in a position like Netflix where they can do that, right? Because a lot of those positions at Netflix are desk jobs. Like these people are the creatives. These are people that are keeping the cogs moving. And that's why I said earlier to take it back to that. And then we'll get to this here, because I think this gets back on the main topic and we'll get back to super chats, is that at this point, he can't just go on a firing spree, because he'll lose all these people that they need to continue these projects. Right. But at the same time, yeah, you could go hire people, but that takes time. And then that means even more of a gap that they can't afford to have, because they already have this large gap now. This is what I was saying earlier about no movies coming out, is we have a 2-3 month gap where none of the big studios have big tentpole movies coming out. And Disney has been suffering the most this year, because each and every one of their movies is either underperformed or outright bombed, like Lightyear. So in that respect, they have to keep the course, and they're going to be strategic firings to scare people in line. That's what Rice was all about. That was to scare people in line. And yes, I agree, Grand Wazoo, and this is what we're seeing in the numbers. There are plenty of normies and general audience, whatever you want to call them out there, that will go see the Marvel movies and continue to go see them. And we've already seen that in the numbers, because this is only performing very subtly under Doctor Strange. And that could change in either direction in the next couple days here.